All right, thank you everyone for attending. Today we are on Chapter 2, Self-Control, the essential ingredient to a successful work environment. But before we start, let's go ahead and review. Oh, and for those of you that are following along in the book, we are starting on page 22. And so before we start, let's go ahead and we're going to review from last week. And Ashton, this is where you are going to be important, since out of the ones that are here today, you're the one from last week. So what is the difference between character and personality? And you have a cheat sheet there, so you could actually, did you get through the chapter? No? Okay. All right. Ashton, if can you answer that? What the difference between character and personality is? Oh, we did hear you. Well, this is, I don't know if, all right, so this is character. It's the combination of morals and beliefs that dictate how we treat others, our environment, and ourselves. It's the basis on which every thought, action, and decision are derived. So if you think of it as a house, it's the foundation that you build your house on. Personality is all the shrubs that you add to it, and the paint color, and the shutters, and all the different little things that make it unique to you. So that's kind of how we looked at it. And character is also how we distinguish between right and wrong. And so that really helps us be able to make good choices. And then personality, again, is something that's going to come through that we can kind of put on as a show. Sometimes, like if you go on an interview, right, your first impression, that would be what your personality would be. But under heated situations, what do they always say? Your true colors are shown. So, and that's what character is. That's really what that is referencing. So why is it important to emphasize positive moral character in the workplace? Anyone have an answer? Oh, Ashton says that his internet crashed for a minute. So Ashton, what would be your answer to why is it important to exercise moral character in the workplace? He is typing. Oh, all right, fair enough. Okay, so character dictates the choices we make and how we treat others. A positive moral character includes traits such as responsibility, respect, and self-control. These and other positive traits are what are needed in the workplace to ensure that we treat others fairly, appropriately, and display a positive work ethic in order to work together in peace. So an example that I used last week was, you know, if you have coworkers that do not clean the microwave after themselves and they do not clean up after themselves, they're not showing respect to everybody else. And maybe you sometimes are like, well, why should I clean this up, right? But when you make the right choice and it's out of the fact that you believe everyone should have, everyone has the right to be respected, and there were two other points. Let me just bring those back. All right, so there's a behavior and attitude towards possessions and properties. So when we believe that everyone has the right to own their own belongings without fear of it being stolen, then we don't steal from people. Behavior and attitude towards all life. Moral principles in regards to people's lives mean that we acknowledge and accept that life is valuable and that regardless of our differences, every single person has the potential to contribute to society. And then the third one that we talked about, behavior and attitude towards the environment. And this is the responsibility of us to take care of our immediate surroundings, our earth, our workplace, our home. So bringing it back to my example of the coworkers, because we believe that there's a behavior and attitude towards the environment, then we will do our part to do the right thing and clean up after ourselves, even if other people are not. So that's why moral character is important to the workplace. All right, so then we are going to go ahead and get started on our not as easy as it looks. All right. Okay, so first off, though, Adam and I are going to role play for you. Okay, so Adam is my supervisor, and he has... No, I'm sorry. An employee is angry with the supervisor. Oh yeah, so Adam is my supervisor, okay? And I am going to tell him what I think of his decision, and then we are going to give feedback on that situation. So Adam, any idea on what I did wrong?
You're late for work.
Oh, for crying out loud. Like everybody else is late for work. I mean, seriously, have you seen Susie Q? She is like 5 minutes later than me every single day. Why does it matter?
Every day you're late for work.
Okay, however though, come on, I've got small kids.
You get called if you're going to be late for work.
Okay.
I know that you...
Really, you want me to call you every single day and tell you that, hey, I'm running late?
Well, you can be there in time. Just have your file taken care of.
Oh, I can't believe that. Forget it. I'm leaving for the day. Bye. An employee walks off. All right, so one moment, class. Now that I lost my page, I got a little mad. All right. So which negative character traits is the employee demonstrating? What would you say? Frustration, absolutely. Yep. And did I do it respectfully, though? No. Right? No. No, not really. What else was I lacking? Self-control, very good. Thank you. How about responsibility? Was I taking any responsibility for these actions? No, right? I found an excuse under the book. Everything. It's not my fault I'm late. Seriously. And disrespect, we've already covered. So, what are some short and long-term results of this employee's actions, would you say? Yes, right? Yeah, nobody should talk to their boss like that. What else would be a another negative consequence to the way that this person responded. Well, hi guys. Hey, is anybody joining us? Who was? George? Uh-huh. All right. So without self-control, obviously, things can go awry, right? And it's important that we know how to have self-control. It's a foundational character trait. Not only do we sabotage ourselves, but we can also put our lives and the lives of others in danger. So I want one of you to go ahead and read this, and Adam, it will probably need to be you because you've got the workbook right there. Go ahead and read this for us, this introduction part.
Sharon was fed up and had no reservations about telling her boss she was sick of working for him, sick of the agency she worked for, and she wasn't going to take it anymore. She punctuated each word as she angrily took each key off of her keyring and threw it against the office wall. Turning over the chair as she stood up in a rage, she slammed the door and she walked out of the room. It did sound like she had practiced self-control. Have you ever been in Sharon's place or know of someone who has acted in similar fashion? Even if you don't know someone personally, news reports tell of people who have clearly shown a lack of self-control in the workplace. It's situations like these that help us appreciate working in an environment where people make right choices in regard to dealing with their frustrations and anger issues. But even if people don't go around telling off the boss, overturning chairs, they display a lack of self-control in many other ways. Backstabbers, gossips, whiners, and bullies all lack self-control. Insubordination, sexual harassment, or purposely undetermined a coworker are all some other ways of lack of self-control affects the work environment. Self-control is the foundational character trait that enables the individual to manage anger and act in ways that promote respect, positive interactions, and compassion even when upset. Self-control is necessary for all positive relationships and for the sense of any environment.
All right, thank you, Adam. So any thoughts on that? It's pretty, explains it really well, right? Okay. So, Brent, can you see the workbook sheet there? Is it really small print? Like, can you read it? Okay, but can you see okay, can you read it? Okay, so if I wanted you to read the next section, you could do that. That was why I was asking. So I just want you to just what is self-control, and you're going to just read down toward just this part, okay? All right, so just what is self-control, Adam? Or Brent? Okay? Learning. Yep. All right, thank you very much. So this is, when I was preparing, this is one of my favorite, chapters because of the self-control. And I've got to say that I wish I had this about 15 years ago because I could have probably saved myself a lot of heartache. So, Especially even now. I mean, this next part of this is so critically important for us. Okay, so this is what we are going to really work on today. And impulsive behavior leads to regrets. I mean, most definitely. Whether they're short-term regrets, whether they are long-term regrets, job loss, you name it. There's a lot of things that come along when we're not in control of ourselves. And while we talk about a work base, like today, a lot of my things will be home life because it's easy enough for me to translate it to. So, all right, let's get into this. So I don't know if you guys have heard that before. Thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, and actions either lead to rewards or consequences. Seems pretty straightforward, right? And for whatever reason, I've heard this before, but it wasn't until I saw the arrows with it that it really clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, very, very good. But now it's actually, hold on. Oh, okay. So now we are going to put this into practice though. So let's look at a scenario. John works for Company B. He sent a shipment to the wrong address and was reprimanded by his supervisor. Although he is usually polite and well organized, he hates to be corrected. There are two ways John can look at this situation. First, we have the negative way. What's he yelling at me for? Now, this is what he's thinking in his head, okay? What's he yelling at me for? So what? I made a mistake. It's not the end of the world. I hate working here. They don't pay me enough to put up with this aggravation. I probably won't get my raise, and I just put in for a vacation. I'm sure he won't give me my time off either. So, what do you think that kind of thought process leads to? Negative feelings, right? So now he's frustrated, he's angry, he's irritable, he's unappreciated, he's resentful, he's hostile. I mean, you got all these things boiling inside of you. And be thinking about your own situations where you've gotten rather, upset about something and just how much your mind went spiraling out of control. So he is now being disrespectful to his supervisor. He's slammed the door. He's pushed people out of his way. And he got into a shouting match with a few of his coworkers. Now, John, we read that John is usually polite and well organized. When we don't take time to control our thoughts, the consequences, because of his disrespect and negative attitude, John was no longer considered for advancement. His coworkers did not want to be around him anymore. His negativity eventually caused him to quit. So, it's a great story. All right, now though, let's go to this other side. This is really jumping on me. So, all right. Now, keep in mind, he hates to be corrected, okay? But he has learned this wonderful technique, and he's got positive thoughts. Well, I did send it to the wrong address because I wasn't being careful. He is the supervisor. It's his job to make sure everything is done correctly. I'll start double checking my orders before I ship them to make sure they are going to the right place. Very simple, right? Very simple process to just stop and think and gather our thoughts and just realize that we're all capable of mistakes, right? So now our feelings here, he's got remorseful, embarrassed, apologetic, determined not to make the same mistake again. Those kind of feelings are going to lead to apologizing to his boss, voicing that he would be more careful in the future, and he offered to assist in rectifying the situation. And the rewards, he was earned the respect of his supervisor, and because of his double-checking plan, he did not make the same mistake again. He was considered for a promotion. How many of you know people who have lost their jobs because of the left column rather than the right column? You guys know anybody like that who's lost a job or they've gotten reprimanded because they acted negatively instead of positively? No. Brent? No? Okay. Well, I do. So. All right. So when John did not practice self-control, his thoughts and feelings spiraled out of control, causing him to act irrationally, and he suffered the consequences of losing respect from his supervisor and coworkers. Practicing self-control in this situation means stopping, realizing your correction is an opportunity to accept responsibility for your actions and learn from your mistakes. And I think for me, when I realized that, and this is going to sound so silly, right? But when I realized that I'm not perfect and I'm human and I will make mistakes, and there are going to be days where I'm more tired than others and mistakes are likely to happen, that's all the more reason to double check our work, just take the time, and also when something does happen, not to spiral out of control. So, all right. Now, let's talk about what creates all of this emotion in us, right? Because something happens, okay? So triggers. Trigger is an incident that stirs up the emotion of anger, frustration, or resentment. And one of the first steps in practicing self-control is to recognize what our triggers are. Different people have different triggers. In the previous scenario, John's trigger was being reprimanded or corrected. For others, a trigger might be not getting their way, being overlooked for a promotion, or feeling as if they did not get the credit they deserve. One moment. For me personally, a trigger of mine is perfectionism. If I'm working on something, setting a room up, maybe I'm trying to get a poster together, something of that nature. If I just cannot get it just right, I get very, very, very frustrated very quickly. So now that I know that, as soon as I start feeling frustrated when I'm working on something, I immediately say, okay, wait, it can't be perfect. Take a deep breath. And what do I need to do to get through this? So, but that's a trigger for me. I know that. Another trigger for me is when my son does not listen and I have to repeat myself 2 or 3 times. Woo! I don't know what it is. Just bam! I just lose it, and he's like, oh, stop yelling at me. And I'm like, well, do what I asked you to the first time, so we're both learning on that. But so now what I want you to do is I want you to list some of your triggers in the work environment. It can be a work environment or even at home or in the school as well. So I want you guys to take some time right now. And Brent, I know you don't have the workbook, and Ashton, you don't either, but just on a separate piece of paper, go ahead and write some triggers for you. What gets you worked up? What gets those thoughts going in your head? And I'll ask you to share, but you don't have to share. So. Yes. Ashton writes, people slacking off or ignoring responsibilities. Yes, Ashton, I am right there with you. If we are working on a project together and you are slacking, feel your pain. What's that? Oh, yes, rude customers is another one that's a trigger. Absolutely. And it's funny because if you stop and think about it, they're really not being rude to you. they're just being rude because they've had a bad day, or, you know, I mean, whatever it might be, but some reason people in grocery stores are always the blunt of it. Uh, yeah, yep. And if you would have had the time to, yeah, no good, no good.
I think rude coworkers would be triggered for a job too.
Uh, yeah, they can't get upset about that. Yeah, like, right. Do you want your food cooked or don't you? Take a chill pill. Clearly need to take a chill right now. Go relax. Calm down. Adam has shared that rude coworkers also can make for can help us get our trigger going. And for, you know, rude coworkers or even rude classmates, people that say just the wrong thing to us, but absolutely, absolutely. All right, so now once you've identified these, the next step is to honestly determine the thoughts that they evoke. Positive thoughts help you to be optimistic and find ways to handle it. They help you understand the actions of others and to accept responsibility for your own actions. Positive thoughts help you decide on a plan of action rather than focus on the negative. Negative thoughts, on the other hand, feel anger, are disrespectful to others and ourselves, and seek only to justify our own actions. Negative thoughts keep us from accepting accountability for our wrongdoing and can lead to blaming others, putting all the responsibility for the problem on someone else. And you know, I just had a thought here, but if you think about it, the triggers that we have talked about are all things that are out of our control. So why would we allow our negative thoughts to put us into a negative situation where we're putting the responsibility for something on someone else that we can't control, that made us angry in the first place? You know what I mean? Because we can only control ourselves. So it's kind of a, like, I don't know, a weird circular there. But anyway, just an epiphany I had here. All right, identify the thoughts you may have when you experience one of the triggers you listed. And you guys, we want you to be honest. So, because I don't believe for a second any of you just go, oh, ho hum. Maybe you do. If you do, you are a really good person. So list thoughts you may have when you experience one of the triggers you listed. So for me, yes, yep, very good, very good. Yep. For me with Nickel, when he doesn't listen, oftentimes my thought process goes to, you know, I don't understand why he doesn't listen to me. I'm such a good mom, and why doesn't he respect me on the first time? And, you know, he must not like me. And, like, seriously, he's just a boy. You know? Yeah, exactly. Adam, what about you? What'd you say for a response to the trigger, to a rude coworker? What would you say? Or what goes through your mind?
What goes through my mind when I have an experienced coworker is I, say, what did I do to them that made them so rude?
Oh yeah, what did I do to you? Yeah, yeah. And then you probably, I mean, you take it further there, right? And it's like, well, what did I do to them? You deserve this. I do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and all of a sudden we're feeling self-righteous, and we're, yeah. Where again, we just think this through. So now I want us to do the opposite, okay? So we've talked about what it's like to get those negative thoughts, but let's go ahead and, hold on, let me make sure I'm not moving myself ahead. Oh, never mind. Nope, we're good. Okay. I was moving us ahead faster than we needed to. Oh, and Ashton, we should check in with you. How about when you're Coworkers do not take responsibility. How do you respond? Oh, very good, very good. He says, I don't work as hard when I see other people not doing their job. It does. It has a negative effect on us. Absolutely, absolutely. And that's where it's really important to go back to our character and back to our moral characters, and we say, no, everybody has the right to be a contributing member to this society. Everybody deserves respect. And we just move forward with those moral characteristics. And I like to call them our compass, our moral compass. Points us in the direction of doing what's right when in all odds we don't want to. Okay. So let's move right along then. How do negative thoughts impact our emotions and ultimately our behavior? In the previous scenarios, John's negative thoughts fueled his anger, which caused him all of those problems. It can really hamper the growth of a positive moral character. So it's really important that we learn how to deal with these triggers. They're everywhere in our society, right? Drive down the road, someone cuts you off. Drive down the road, somebody doesn't go through the stop sign fast enough, leaving you at the yellow. Think of all the scenarios where we lose it, and even if it's not lose it, but, a negative thought goes through your head, So lots of different thoughts here. Festering negative thoughts leave us vulnerable, angry, and hostile. Knowing the dangers of these negative thoughts and havoc that they can wreak on our personal and professional lives should be a strong motivating force to learn how to control them. So I want to go back to the stop sign, right? Or the stoplight scenario. The car in front of you doesn't move fast enough and you're stuck on the yellow. There's no good reason why he didn't go through the stop sign fast enough, but he moseyed on through, and you're now stuck on red. Okay, so if you think about this, right now in my head, I'm going, man, why didn't he just drive faster? What's wrong with these people? Why, and I need to get to school because, I need to get to work on time because obviously my supervisor's been yelling at me about getting work on time. So, all these things, right? But let's say I stop at Quick Trip for a coffee. That poor lady, she's probably going to get the brunt of that. So she's, something happens or they're out of coffee. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to just be, oh, dear ma'am, could you let me know when? No, I'm probably going to say, excuse me, when's the coffee going to be ready? Not even thinking, because that's what our negative thoughts can do. They can cause us not to think. So, be thinking about that. There are triggers all around us, and so often our negative thoughts can just carry us in the wrong direction. This quote here, I love it. This is from the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, which is the whole curriculum is based off of. But it says, harboring negative thoughts can literally be compared to drinking poison. It's powerful. That's really powerful. So, okay. So how do we control it? And this is my favorite part of the workshop. We're going to learn the STOP acronym. STOP. Stop, think, options, proceed. And I can tell you that I've begun using these with my nickel. So, third time I've had to repeat my direction to him, right? And the clock is ticking, and he still doesn't have his shoes on, and we're still not getting out the door on time. If you guys remember your mothers yelling at you, this is what they were thinking. So no, but I have learned to stop, recognize it as a trigger. I know it's a trigger. Think. Okay, is he distracted? What is going on? Just think. Options. What can I do about this situation? Well, at this point, I can give him a choice. Either he puts his shoes on or I put his shoes on for him. I can choose another consequence for him. I can pick him up and carry him to the car. I can yell at him, see if that'll work. So see what I mean? You know, you got options, right? And then proceed with the right choice. And in Nichols' scenario, it's usually either giving him a choice or telling him, you know, like, I'm leaving with or without you, or, you know, you won't get TV time because you're not following my rules. So, you know, I mean, and then I don't even have to yell at him. And we go off to school like nothing has happened. Whereas if I do have a morning where I'm yelling at him, then he goes off to school feeling bad, I go off to work feeling bad, you know, just kind of leaves it in a bad situation. So what I want us to do now, one second here. Okay, so the STOP acronym can help us to learn to control our negative thoughts. Negative thoughts can fall into three main categories: generalizations, all or nothing, and hateful and angry. Now, if you think about it, okay, we have the generalizations. We have, and I'm at a loss for an example there, sorry. All or nothing. You know, in my situation with Nickel, a lot of times I'll do the generalization where I'll say, he never listens to me. Or actually, that would be the all or nothing. He never listens to me. You know, really, like, probably half the time he listens to me on the first time. Or hateful and angry. For me, drivers make me hateful and angry. I just get out of my way, would you? That's what I feel like saying. Yeah, just, oh, I'm a happy person when I'm the only car on the road. I really am. So these types of thoughts cause us to feel victimized, defeated, and hostile. And boy, is that ever true. So now we want to, Ashton, do you have your mic working? I'm assuming no response means a no. So Adam, I'm going to come back to you and ask you to go ahead and read pages 28 and 29. Oh, excuse me. We are going to actually do this together. We'll just rotate. So, I love this. It says here, using the STOP acronym is probably, you're thinking, yeah, right, easier said than done, but really it is. Since I've been studying this book and the curriculum, I can tell you this acronym pops into my head day in and day out. It's just there. So, all right, so we are going to go ahead and round robin. We are going to read these. So Adam, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll take number 2, and Brent, you can take number 3. All right, so Adam.
Number 1, take a moment to analyze what you're thinking. Each one of our thoughts is an inward battle. Take a moment to analyze what you are thinking. Sometimes it is necessary to stop and tell yourself, I am not going to think like this. Imagine a thought entering the floor of your mind. Before you allow that thought to enter, fully determine if it is positive or negative. Tell negative thoughts to leave, but warmly invite positive thoughts to come and stay a while.
All right. Narrow down those thoughts. For example, a common negative thought that people experience from time to time is, no one appreciates me. Notice that the scope of this thought is broad in nature. This can be categorized as generalized thinking. To think that no one appreciates us is to imply that there's not one single person in all the entire world who values us as individuals. Of course, this is a false thought. There are people who appreciate us. A more realistic thought could be, he does not appreciate my input at this meeting, or she does not appreciate my suggestion. So again, you take it off about it being you, right? Sometimes when we make life all about us, we just create more trouble for ourselves. And then you're putting the focus, you're getting your thoughts focused on the right thing, right? So when it just narrows it down. Using terms such as always or never in our thinking should immediately send up red flags. Thoughts such as, I'll never get promoted. She always listens to her ideas, but not mine, are other examples of generalized thinking. Can any of us see the future? Therefore, how do we know we will never get promoted? How do we know she won't listen to our next idea, or maybe the idea after that? Be careful of always and nevers. They set us up to fail and do not give us, or those we interact with, room to improve. All right, Brent, you're up. Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes just narrowing our thoughts and thinking of the incident more realistically is enough to change negative thoughts into positive ones. So rather than, I'll never get promoted, a more realistic thought could be, I didn't get promoted this time, but I'm going to keep doing the best work I can. When we learn to think in specifics rather than in broad generalizations, we can have greater control over our thoughts. All right, you're up, Brent. Yeah. Does that help at all? Okay. Very good, very good. And some of the things that I've been doing to help myself catch these things or like really sink these in is I'll write this down on a sticky note and put it somewhere where I can see it on a regular basis. You know, because sometimes we have to see things on a regular basis in order for it to really sink into our heads. So if there's anything with throughout this that you're like, wow, I really want to get that concept, write it down. Write it down. So, all right, so negate the negative. Adam, why don't you do the first two paragraphs and then I'll wrap it up on that last one.
Another way to categorize negative thoughts is hateful or angry. These thoughts are the most dangerous and can easily lead to aggression and violence. Here are some examples. She's such a jerk. Who does he think he is? Someone should give her attitude adjustment. You don't pay me enough for this aggravation. These thoughts are cause for alarm. We often mull these thoughts over and over in our minds. They can fester and become gaping wounds, affecting our interactions and the way we process information. Although most people do not accept upon these negative thoughts to bring harm to others, thoughts like these can leave us feeling hostile and resentful. They can immediately lead to rage, which is rare, but increasingly more frequent cases can lead to violent and aggressive language and behavior in the workplace.
When we experience this line of thinking, we must stop. Remember to say to yourself, I'm not going to think like this, and then replace those thoughts with positive ones. For example, rather than, she's such a jerk, you can replace that thought with, maybe she's just having a bad day. Or, regardless of how she behaves, I'm going to have a great day. Rather than, they don't pay me enough for this aggravation. They're not paying me to be aggravated. They're paying me to do my job. So I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability. That one I really liked. I don't know why. It just really was like, oh, yeah. They're not paying me for my opinions. They're paying me to do my job. So changing negative thoughts to positive ones won't be easy at first, but it can be done. It takes determination, practice, practice, practice. All right, so let's get practicing. All right, so what I want you guys to do now, and Brent, again, you're going to do this on a single piece of paper there, and I will get you a workbook, but you're going to put down your thought, put what category is it, and then positive replacement thought. What can you say to yourself instead of your negative thoughts? And we'll just take a few minutes to do this exercise. And again, if anyone wants to share, we'll be more than welcome to hear it. Just a few more minutes, and then we'll wrap this one up. All right. Does anybody want to share their positive replacement thoughts? Okay. Yep. Yeah. Very good. Because when we stop and think about the why behind it, yeah, there you go. Good job. Absolutely. How about you?
Maybe you did something wrong.
Okay.
Do it your way instead of your way.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Ashton, anything from you on a positive replacement thought? Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, and that is something to keep in mind here, is one of the things that I thought about doing was keeping this worksheet near me, and, you know, or even at the end of the day, and just like, oh yeah, that was a negative thought, and then how did I change it? And so, you know, again, just really putting this into practical application, and really getting ourselves to really stop and think about what's actually going on up in that head of ours. So, okay, so now I want you guys, or I guess, okay, so here's some more thoughts on this self-control, and then we're going to do kind of a fun exercise, somewhat fun. All right, so we've learned that learning to handle our emotions appropriately is another another area where self-control is needed. Emotions can run the gamut, right? Everything from angry, resentful, hurt, all the way over to excited, overjoyed, happy. I mean, right? I mean, we have a whole range of emotions, and there's emotions that we don't even know have names for, right? So, all of these emotions, we need to be aware of them, and also we need to be aware of them in our personal lives and our work lives. Anger, hostility, jealousy, resentment, competitiveness are only some of the negative emotions that we conquer in order to improve our interactions and productivity while at work. So, and then on the flip side of this, we have this uncanny ability to stuff our feelings and for the most part function as if everything's okay. The problem is that these feelings eat away at us from the inside out. And like negative thoughts, they can be counterproductive. They can lead to intense interactions that can affect not only our work environments, but our family life as well. It's not uncommon for people to take out the anger and hostilities that originate at work on their families. So what causes us to internalize our feelings until they result in physical ailments, ruin our interactions, or cause us to behave inappropriately? There are many answers to this question, and here are a few of them. We are insecure about telling others how we feel. We doubt that the situation can be resolved satisfactorily. We believe we should just get over it. We think that talking about it will not solve anything. We fear we may jeopardize our position if we come off as always complaining. And we simply want others to like us, and we don't want to feel excluded. So with that, I just want us to revisit back up here to our STOP acronym, right? Or not our STOP, but to the thought process, right? So it's coming, I know it is. All right, so here we are, right? So our thoughts lead to feelings and emotions, and that's why it's so important to get those thoughts under control, because they lead to our feelings and our emotions. And sometimes, I mean, it can be vice versa, right? I mean, you know, your emotion that you feel can elicit a thought, but it's important to get those thoughts under control so that you bring back your emotions in control. And those emotions lead to our actions. and then leads to our rewards and consequences. So, you know, and I love this because most of the time, when you think about things that you get upset about at work or even in school or with coworkers, it does usually boil down to these things. We're insecure, we doubt the situation, we believe we should just get over it. You know, I mean, these are just all things that have been ingrained in us. So we need to get over it. Moving along, I really liked this. This was kind of, how was your day at work? Says the speaker one. And the guy responds, oh great, I had a busy day. I had a generalized thought in the morning, but changed it to a positive one. Then I had an angry thought about one of my coworkers, but I changed that to a positive one too. Then right before I went home, I had an all or nothing thought about my supervisor. And you changed that one too, says speaker one. Speaker two, yep. Speaker one, wow, too bad you don't get paid to change your thoughts. Just thought it was kind of cute. No? No cute? No? All right, tough crowd. Okay, so we are now going to go into, hang on one second here. Yes, okay, so, oh, I got it. All right, so let's break this down a little bit further. The feeling of insecurity. We feel incapable of adequately describing our feelings to others. Uncertain as to how to best express our feelings, we keep them bottled up and eventually suffer from emotional overload. For me personally, it's on the days that I am super tired that these emotions all seem to think they should just come out. So, you know, it's just a good thing to keep our emotions, understand when we've bottled them up. Do not be discouraged or feel that the problem is greater than you can deal with. You can take charge of your thoughts and your feelings. If you can control your thoughts by changing the negative thoughts into positive ones, you'll be able to control your emotions, which is what, you know, what I was showing with that, with the arrows. Feelings were not meant to be stuffed until they explode, damaging ourselves and those around us. We have the ability and tools to handle our emotions properly. It is up to each of us to use self-control to appropriately handle our feelings before we say or do something that jeopardizes our professional and personal lives. And again, when we go back to our moral character and we believe that everyone has the potential to contribute to society and everyone should be treated equally, then how we handle ourselves becomes easier, because you shouldn't just blow up at anybody. At work, we don't just have the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have them do to you. We have the platinum rule, and the platinum rule is do unto others as they would like you to do. So it's not about how do I want to be treated, it's about how does that person want to be treated. So, you know, platinum rule or golden rule, either one tells you, you know, basically if you don't want to be yelled at or if you don't want to be talked negatively, don't do it to someone else. Because think about this. We're talking about ourselves, right? All these feelings that we feel, right? Because people say things, do things to us day in and day out. Let's not be that person doing that to others. Okay. All right, if you realize your emotions are affecting the quality of your work and your interactions with your coworkers and supervisor, it is time to seek help. And I will tell you from experience, supervisors are they will more easily respond to you when you're saying, I need help, I cannot, you know, whatever it is, than waiting for everything to blow up and then you tell them what's going on. It is never too late to seek help, guidance, or instruction on how to deal with issues that you are unable to resolve yourself. There's always someone to talk to. And one of the things that I want to point out to you is there is this 1-800 number here for the Peaceful Solution Character Education Incorporated. They're the ones that developed this, and they have this hotline. And they have trained peaceful solution representatives there for you to resolve these problems peacefully. So, you know, if there's something that's been going on at work or maybe even at home, you're like, I am just not getting any resolution, you can call this number and get their input on it. So, because sometimes we can't get our thoughts and emotions under control, and we need help to do that. So, okay. For the sake of time, we are going to skip my exercise. The exercise was listening to various sentences and talking about what emotions those generate and how those can, you know, how do we turn those around. So I'll just kind of give you, actually I'll scroll down. No, you guys can't see this. Okay, this is the teacher's manual. My coworkers are so incompetent. Why do I have to do all the work? My coworkers are disgusting. Why won't someone besides me clean this bathroom? And if you think about it, these are all or nothing statements, right? And a lot of generalizations. I can't believe he took my idea again. They can take this job and shove it. So those are some thoughts that lead to feelings. That was kind of our activity there, but yeah. So just, you know, as you go over the course of the week, be thinking about these things and be thinking about all the different thoughts that go through your mind, and you'll be surprised. You really will be. Okay. So we, when we control our thoughts and emotions, we are better to make right choices, right? That's the whole point of this whole exercise, is getting our thoughts, emotions, and our actions under control so we make good choices and that we reap rewards and consequences. Good consequences. So, let's go to page 33. Let your choices lead you to success. Negative thoughts and feelings can lead to negative choices. In the previous scenario, John allowed himself to feel angry, resentful, and he chose to act unprofessionally by becoming verbally and physically aggressive. And as we saw in the exercise, this led to him being very violent, slamming doors, pushing coworkers, and the long-term results of this is that his coworkers didn't want to work with him, and eventually he quit. When, you know, just one little thing. So, here's another example. Mr. Smith feels unappreciated because he has been overlooked for a promotion twice in a row. He has allowed negative thoughts to fester and affect his choices. To get even with his supervisor, he decides to break the air compressor. Not a good choice. Go break your own. Still not a good choice. All right, so positive actions or options, on the other hand, are respectful, responsible, harmless. They promote peace, communication, cooperativeness. By practicing self-control, you can solve every problem peacefully with wisdom and respect for yourself and others by always making right choices. And again, it does not come easily. It comes with practice. Practice, practice, practice. I also have personally found that if you're around other people that believe the same thing, it comes a lot easier as well. But if you work with a bunch of negative Nellies, whew, it's very difficult. So, for example, Christina thinks that her supervisor ignores her suggestions. but always accepts the suggestions of her coworker. Rather than let her thoughts get out of control, she decided to talk the problem over with the supervisor. Christina's supervisor informed her that her coworker offered suggestions that were solutions to the problem. Christina realized that oftentimes she focused on the problem rather than the solution. She thanked her supervisor for her time and determined that at the next production meeting, she would offer viable solutions rather than simply restating the problem. So again, sometimes it's not all about us. You know, sometimes we don't have the right answer. Sometimes we don't really know what we're talking about. And it's good to get input from other people to get us, get a different perspective. So practicing self-control gives you the ability to evaluate your thoughts, feelings, and choices, rather than acting on impulse and jumping to conclusions. Controlling your thoughts can lead to right choices, and right choices can lead to successful communication and interaction. And this quote here, your thoughts determine how you perceive the world around you. And there's another quote out there that says, like, perception is 80% and reality is only 20%. So, really how we decide to view everything can really play a role. Really can. All right. So, all right. So, can any of you, I don't know if you guys follow the news much, can any of you think of any news stories, local, national, where work violence, people were out of control at work and acted out? The ones that I could think of were all domestic abuse related. So they weren't really necessarily work. Yeah, because there was like that shooting at the salon, but yeah. Yeah, what happened? Tell us about it. And the customer was just... And where was this? Oh, wow. Was that the one you were talking about? Oh, okay. Gee, man. See, that really. Oofta, oofta, oofta. All right. Just nuts. Life is not that. I don't know. So this section here just kind of talks about all the outside influences on us, right, that make us more on edge, that maybe triggers faster. There's a lot of external things. For me personally, I know that if I have had a bad night of sleep, I'm going to be touchy. And so the next night, what I make sure I do is I go to bed early, just to kind of make up for that. But that kind of takes the responsibility to recognize that and to do it. But so an increasingly number of people are experiencing financial burdens, family issues, health problems, compounding a stress of daily grind. When combined with personality disorders, drugs and alcohol abuse, domestic violence, bad situation could quickly become dangerous. So it's, we need to keep it at our forefront that there are many things that go into our emotions and thoughts. Below are some basic guidelines to help you recognize potentially dangerous behaviors. And it is important. If we feel threatened or if we notice, anything out of the ordinary, we need to report it. So these here are some things. Never take threats from made toward anyone in your work environment as irrelevant or as a joke. Report it immediately. Be aware of a coworker. His mic is working. Hey Ashton, your mic is working. So be aware of a coworker who exhibits aggressive or destructive. Oh no. Oh, we have Gussie Girl. Who's Gussie Girl? Hello, Gussie Girl.
Hi.
Hi. Who are you?
It's Kayla.
Well,
I'm good.
how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. All right. Well, you're just catching us at the tail end. That's just fine. If you have a way to mute yourself, go ahead and do that. Thank you. All right. Okay, so be aware of a coworker who exhibits aggressive or destructive behavior. Report any coworker who threatens, intimidates, bullies others. Be aware of someone who is bullied or intimidated by others who hasn't yet been trained in the peaceful solution like yourself. This too can create backfire as well. Notice if your coworkers become withdrawn or sullen over a period of time and let the supervisor know. Pay attention to your coworkers who resent correction and make derogatory remarks about it to others, especially with any threatening words. Observe anyone who develops a grudge toward another worker, allowing unresolved issues to fester until they explode one day. And beware of the person who's highly confrontational and verbal or physically intimidating. He or she has no reservations about letting others know when they are not pleased about something. So again, they're just stressing that it's very important that we report these things. You know, and it might seem incidental to us. It might not seem like much, but we know from our class today, from the example that Brent shared, something small can go way out of control. So it's important to be aware, it's important to be observant, and to report. All right, the overall atmosphere of your work environment may also influence the choices people make. As an employee, you may have little or no input in how the business is ran. If there are decisions or procedures put into place that you don't like or agree with, you can practice self-control and handle the situation appropriately by doing what you are told, rather than resisting instructions or complaining about it. Remember, we're paid to do our job. We're not paid to have opinions. When we're asked for our opinions, we can give them. After all, that's exactly what I just said. As you practice self-control and accept the decisions that are made and how you are to do your work, you can influence others to do the same, contributing to building a more peaceful work environment. Again, when we do the right thing, even when others are not, it leads to better results. And that's where having a positive character, having moral characteristics is important, and why everything kind of builds on itself from one week to the next. So all right, and then these are just some nice ways for us to use self-control. Greet each other warmly. Always use polite and courteous words. You'd be surprised how far thank you and you're welcome goes nowadays. Please. Be responsible with your choices, earning a peaceful reputation. Show a genuine, earnest desire to do your best with whatever you are assigned to do, no matter the opposition you may encounter. Maintain integrity and follow through with what you say you will do. See, we don't want to be like those other coworkers. We also want to be good examples. Be attentive to the safety and needs of yourself and others, and value input and suggestions of others in order to build teamwork. Just as we don't like our suggestions not to be considered, that's how others feel as well. So it's important to find a happy balance. When self-control is used to consistently practice these 7 guidelines, there would be no room for violence in the workplace. Sure, problems arise. This is a normal part of life. Everyone has setbacks. Everyone has a bad day. I've lost my spot. When educated in moral excellence using the Peaceful Solutions Character Education Workplace Manual, everyone has the opportunity to practice self-control and make it a peaceful day for all by making right choices. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we've just got a few more things. All right, Adam, I am going to pick on you again. So we also know that respect requires self-control too, and respect also leads to self-control. So respect is an integral part of our work environment. Whether you work in a restaurant, school, hospital, law enforcement, just to name a few, it takes everyone respecting each other for there to be positive communication and interaction. You know, and that's kind of what we were talking about there, those last 7 points. So what I want to do, despite the curveballs and pitfalls we all face, with self-control, you can treat others respectfully, even if you are annoyed or frustrated. And Adam, I'm going to have you read the following scenario, and then I want us to answer the questions that follow.
Detective North was 10 years on the force when a middle-aged man named Miller from Wounded in his community was arrested for
Pedophilia.
Endangering a child and kidnapping. North, having a daughter around the same age as the victims, could feel the full weight of hurt and disgust that the parents of those victimized were suffering. During interrogation of the suspect, Detective North became very frustrated. Miller had already admitted to taking the child, but refused to divulge whether the girl was now. Learning the whereabouts of the victim was the detective's only goal at that moment. North became increasingly angry. Finally, he rose from his seat with such force that the chair he was sitting on flipped backwards and clattered to the floor. Reaching across the table, the detective grabbed Miller by the collar of his suit jacket and pulled him out of the seat. Shaking him violently, he screamed, "Tell me where she is or I'll rearrange your face." Before Miller could respond, Detective North slammed the man's head down on the table, causing blood to stream from his nose. Detective Ramsey stepped over and pulled Detective North away from Miller before North could strike him a second time. Afterwards, the suspect finally divulged the whereabouts of his victim. North was suspended from duty and his former revealed after that was brought to the jail fair.
Wow. That happens where things get a little too close to home. So, all right, so now I want you guys to go ahead and answer these questions, and then we'll discuss them. Actually, let's just go ahead and discuss them out loud. Did Detective North practice self-control while interrogating the suspect? No, not at all. He felt hurt, disgusted, or I'm sorry, no, he let his emotions take control, and then he became aggressively violent. What were some of the emotions Detective North was feeling? If you guys had to, what was he feeling? Angry. Aggression, yes, yep. How about you, Brent? What was he feeling? What were some of his thoughts? Yeah, right? And really feeling like I was really close to home, you know, and yeah, okay. How was he disrespectful to the suspect? Yeah, I did. Did Detective North deserve to be suspended for his actions? Okay. Your opinion? Okay. Possibly. Okay. So suspending him isn't the right choice, or doesn't solve the problem, right? It didn't solve anything. He needs to be educated in the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. He was not trained in moral character development. It's the society's problem in how he was trained, not his alone. And that, I was talking about that being a good example. Now that you guys have this material, even being able to just help someone through that, to use the STOP acronym. And then, what consequences do you think Detective North should receive? Yeah, right? Exactly. Even this curriculum? Something, right? So, I want us to review the STOP acronym. Brent, what does S stand for? Adam, what does T stand for? Good job. Think. Ashton, what does O stand for? Options, that's right. And P, all together, proceed. Right? Okay. So, for those of you that are present today, you all got little business card size, and those, put them in your billfold, your purse, whatever you want. But just a great way to remind ourselves to just stop, think, options, proceed. All right, any questions from today's class? No? Anything from you? No? All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and we will see you next week. And for those that are not available, or were not available today, this is recorded, and you'll be able to watch it at a later time. Goodbye, everyone. Bye. The room is in need, so I have to scoot